Hello, I'm Marsha from the Monroe County Library System, and I'm going to talk about books today. First of all, any of the books I talk about can be found on our website at mymcls.com, my Monroe County Library System. And also, you can find a lot of these books online. You can search our catalog, or you can get the apps for Hoopla, RB Digital, and Libby. So all of these apps are available at your local library and online. So call today your local branch to get a library card and sign up for these great services. Now I'd like to talk about some young adult books that you can get also online from the library or in the branch. I'm going to start with Salt to the Sea. And I really love anything by this author, Ruta Septis. She wrote Out of the Easy, Between Shades of Gray, and then, of course, this one, Salt to the Sea. They are historical fiction that are heart-wrenching. There's some younger kids involved, teens involved, and they are tragic stories. This is one where all of the characters, I listened to this one, and every character was told in a different voice. So that you knew which character they were talking about. And this is the story of all of these passengers that are boarding a fateful ship and their horrible circumstances leading up to that, and then the tragic ending to the story. So they're not exactly feel-good books, but they are page-turning and heart-rendering. These are some fun ones, oldies but goodies, Dancing in My Nudie Pants. I love these. She also wrote Angus Thongs and the Full Frontal Snogging. They are British, so the dialect is very different and fun and light. They're very comedic. They're written in a diary form, and this poor girl is just kind of down and out and very funny. She has an unrequited love that she's seeking. They're just very fun, light reads. Miles Morales, Spider-Man. This is by Jason Reynolds. I love anything by Jason Reynolds. I wanted to remember to mention him. I don't have a lot of his books to show right now, but he wrote All the Way Down, and he's written so many good books that I love him. Jason Reynolds is somebody you should look up, but this is a new young up-and-coming Spider-Man. So if comics and that scene is your thing, he's definitely one to look at. This one isn't the first book in the series. Bloody Jack is the name of it. And this is my example of never judging a book by its cover. This is a cover that I would never want to pick up and read, but the adventures in Bloody Jack are great. They're the story about a young girl from England who is orphaned and poor, and she decides to act as a boy, dress as a boy, and stow away on a ship to get away to a better life. So the first one is very, you're kind of nervous the whole time that she's going to get found out and what's really going to become of her. It becomes a great series. She has all of these great adventures. There's a little bit of love, mostly adventure, and I always like it. I like to compare it to how Forrest Gump, she's always in a very significant piece of time in a very innocent sort of way. They're very fun. I recommend the Bloody Jack series for sure. James Patterson, again, also writes in young adults. So he has the Angel, the Daniel X series. These are more science fiction-y books. So they're kids that have special powers that are being tracked or imprisoned, and they're trying to break free. There's always kind of an adventure. Those are also very good. And Sharon Draper wrote Copper Sun. This book is heartbreaking. It's the story of a young girl who lives in Africa and is actually kidnapped and collected and sold into slave trading. So it comes across the story of the ship journey here, which is horrific. The auction when she's actually sold, her escape from slavery, and the travels. It's very heavy, but very intense and good and eye-opening. It's called Copper Sun. Sort of Like a Rock Star. I actually see they're making a movie of that, even maybe this year, but under a different name. I've kind of forget it now, all of us. And Sort of Like a Rock Star is a great story. The character in here, they never really come out and say it, but she has some form of Asperger's or autism, and she lives on a school bus with her mother, and she has a lot of tragedy in her life. She's very literal as she goes through these stages. You are cheering for her the whole time. It is heartbreaking and it's funny. It's definitely a book. Sort of Like a Rock Star is one that I would recommend. Darren Shan, he's one I love. He wrote the Vampire Diaries or the zombie series. This is called The Thin Executioner. Again, I like scary. So if you like Stephen King, if you like scary books, Darren Shan is another good one to try. The Hunt, along those same lines. This is a good book that I like. Dorothy Must Die. This is a play on The Wizard of Oz with Dorothy. If you like Wicked, if you like different perspectives and different stories, this is kind of a fractured fairy tale. Dorothy Must Die. Murder Trending is, this reminds me of, this is an online murdering that's happening while they're filming. It's very kind of done in real life. And that's another good one. I have not read these, but I saw we have some new Star Wars books on characters, current characters. Those are available for checkout. And this is another good one, another new young adult. This one has a little bit of everything. It's got a little bit of magic, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of adventure. It's called Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. So there are plenty, as you can see, there are plenty of books here. So you can request them from the library. You can pick them up curbside or make an appointment, or you can certainly look for them online as well. Thank you. I'm going to talk about some of the new books available at the Bedford Branch and some of my favorites. So the books I'm going to talk about today, this is a new Stephen King book called If It Bleeds. I love anything by Stephen King. I love horror. I love being scared. If you like it or any of the books or movies that you've seen by him, this is his newest one. I also recommend that you listen to books by Stephen King on audio. They are read by the actor Will Patton, and he has a low, scary, gravelly voice. And I'm scared just listening to this at dark in the night. So Stephen King, If It Bleeds. I picked one of Nicholas Sparks' new books. He's the exact opposite of Stephen King. Nicholas Sparks' books are full of love and happy endings. So you might be familiar with his work, such as The Notebook, or any of the books that he has written that maybe have been turned into movies. So he has a lot out there. This one's called The Return. John Grisham has The Guardians. John Grisham always writes books typically about some sort of law or lawyer, which is also a huge interest to me, and there's a mystery involved. The Guardians is really good. It's a private detective, and he's sort of hired to protect someone that was falsely accused of a crime. There's some race issues involved. It's very good. Lisa Scottolini, I love. She did a book called Exposed, and that's one of her most recent ones. She writes also kind of legal crime books. She also writes very fun books with her daughter that are short chapter books that are very funny. And she writes a column for the Philadelphia newspaper where she's from. Michael Connelly, fair warning. Michael Connelly is an author that I love. He writes, he has sort of a rogue private investigator that goes out and gets into kind of all kinds of trouble. He can't really follow the rules. I didn't grab one of his, but Robert B. Parker is another author I love like that. He wrote all of the Spencer series, the Spencer books, and those have been made into TV series a couple of times. Spencer's also a private detective that cannot follow the rules and always manages to get into some sort of trouble with his friend Hawk. The next one is Jodi Picoult. The one I picked is Small Great Things. This is one of her newer ones, probably not her newest, but I like this book. This also deals with some issues of race. There is a nurse who is helping to deliver a baby, and they are of different ethnic backgrounds, and there's some controversy there. A lawsuit ensues, some troubles. It's very heart-wrenching. It's a book that makes you think and wonder, what would you do in that situation? Jodi Picoult wrote other books I love, like My Sister's Keeper. 19 Minutes is really good. That's about a bombing that occurs and everything that happens in a short amount of time of 19 minutes. It's very, very intense as well. James Patterson, I picked a couple of his. James Patterson writes regular books, young adult books. He writes a book a month with assorted authors. I tend to like his books. They tend to be quick reads, thrillers, and intense, and he's very popular. I've already mentioned I like scary. This one was called At Your Door. This one is very good. It's scary. A woman is dead, a child is missing, and now there's someone at your door. So the whole time you're kind of looking over your shoulder as you read this book. And Stuart Woods. is another one that I picked, and Jeffrey Deaver. These are the authors that I really like. In my book club recently, we talked about Kristen Hanna and The Nightingale. Kristen Hanna I really like. Her books are they're very kind of involved. You can't really put them down. This one, Chevy Stevens, I love. Still Missing. This is an older one, but I love it. It is about a woman who has been abducted, and the book is written, every other chapter is written her voice, in a therapy section, and then a flashback to the awful incidents that occur. So if you liked something like Room, or the story of Elizabeth Smart, or J.C. Duggard, or any of those people, the Cleveland abductions, any of those people, this is a fiction book that is kind of horrific and hard to put down as well, in sort of a bad way. And Danielle Steele, I picked one of her newer ones that we have is Daddy's Girls. And she has a lot that kind of along the lines of Nicholas Sparks are a little bit more on the romance side. And those are some of the ones that I wanted to talk about today and to highlight.